So just got watching Netflix's 2019 The Birds. Well, no, wait, that wasn't it. Netflix's 2019 Bird Box. No, that wasn't it either. Netflix 2019 A Quiet Place. No, that wasn't it either. Ah, that's right. The Silence. We just got done watching it. Let's talk about it. What's up, Universe, and welcome back to the web's first must-see comic and nerd culture show. Welcome to Comic Universe, guys. I'm one of your hosts, as always, C-Dubs, and as you guys can see, I'm riding solo on this video. Guys, the wife and I just got done watching the Netflix original movie, 2019's The Silence, starring Stanley Tucci, Kieran Shipka, Billy McLean, and directed by John L. Leonetti. Now, right off the bat, with it being directed by Leonetti, you kind of start to be like, okay, maybe this movie's not going to be that good. The guy's resume kind of, let me just put this out there. Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Need I say more? Now, that obviously was earlier in his career, but this movie is definitely far better than that. So, guys, as always, I'm going to give you the breakdown. I'm going to give you the good, the bad, the badass, and top it off with a score and let you guys know if you should see it or not. If you haven't already. Now, if you have already, let me know in the comments below. Did you like it? Let us know. So, guys, The Silence. This movie, unfortunately, is going to be compared to Bird Box, A Quiet Place, and yes, even The Birds, to its detriment, unfortunately. This movie was not as bad as the internet would lead you to believe. You can have some fun with it. There is a lot of things for especially someone like myself who analyzes the film as he watches films, tries to foreshadow things coming. I try not to do it, but it doesn't work. It always happens. So you're going to see things coming. You're going to catch on to things early, and you're definitely going to see the direct comparisons. Now, unfortunately, this movie is based off of a novel, 2015 novel, horror novel, by the same name, written by Tim LeBron. You know, what's really sad, too, is that this book came out way before either one of those other movies, minus The Birds, obviously. Now, so it sucks because it came first and everything else has just kind of been inspired from that, and this is what we are dealing with now. Now, if you're not familiar with what this movie is, basically there's a hole that opens up in the ground and these prehistoric creatures that evolved over time. It's easy to kind of say that they're somewhat similar to pterodactyls because they kind of have that crescent shape in the back of their head. They kind of have the same type of wings and maybe some of the shape of the tail. And it just seems to be that they have evolved over time. Now, there's millions and millions and millions of them underground, apparently. And they burst out onto the scene and basically are causing the apocalypse, essentially. They're terrorizing the world, eating up people. They're basically like flying piranhas. Not like Piranha 2, but they're basically flying piranhas. They cannot see. They seem to just be able to adapt to the sound of everything. Hence the name, the title name, The Silence, where you just have to be quiet to survive. So we followed this girl and her family, and we realized that the girl has a disability. She was in an accident that caused her hearing, and her family is really overbearing and overprotective of her since that. So this is the way that the movie is able to communicate with us through sign language. But what's really weird is while everybody is signing in the whole movie, they're all still talking. So, you know, and my wife is the one that really caught on to that first, and I was like, well, maybe they're talking for the other person, but they're still using sign language. So that, the girl who can't hear understands what everybody's saying. That was the only explanation I could come up with on that one. But it's just really random that every time that they're using the sign language, they're still talking. About a good 98% of the time, they're still talking. So, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Why that wasn't leaned on more within the movie. However, again, these pterodactyls, which they call vesps, which is Spanish for wasps, attack the world, is killing everybody, and the girl who can't hear, she has decided, or she hasn't decided, but she says that, if they're attracted to sound, the cities are the worst place to be, which she does have a point. So the family, along with their husband's best friend, who is so close to them they call him uncle, decide to just up and go. And they're going to go to the wilderness without a plan, without anything. So there's a lot of plot holes within it. I don't know, and I only can assume that the book has better direction than this movie, because that's where this movie falls apart. But the good is The acting from Stanley Tucci, the Duke, can do no wrong. I have seen him in better, but the guy really cannot do any wrong whatsoever. Kira Shipka, I have not jumped on board yet with Sabrina, Netflix Sabrina. She's the lead actress in that, so she's obviously pretty good if she's got 2 series under her belt there. Jay has said the show has been really good, so it's on my to-do list. So definitely, she holds the movie together really well. She, plays off not being able to hear really well. They don't do too much with it. You thought that it might play a little more, kind of like how in A Quiet Place that really did affect the movie, but it didn't. So as they go on this adventure and they're trying to get away from the cities, of course, hijinks ensue. They come across, they lose some members of the family. There's the dog. His dog is barking, and unfortunately, instead of getting the dog a muzzle, they let the dog out to be killed. So many things, needless things that didn't need to happen really early on in the film, and it really just was slightly annoying because it's like, why didn't you foreshadow this? You had the time to think about it. The movie does a decent enough job showing that in these times of danger, people suck. Straight up, we are generally, as much as we all want to believe there's good in all of us, 9 times out of 10, you find out, unfortunately, guys, and I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer here, you find out the complete opposite. Most people suck. So early on, there's a guy trying to steal the car, obviously. So, Uncle has to come in, pop, 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 save the day. The dog is even though the dog was the first warning sign that these things were coming, these morons let the dog out to die. Okay, and I'm just like, you could have foreshadowed that. Of course your dog is going to bark. Of course your dog is going to bring noise. Okay, why didn't you do that? But again, he's able to alert you at least a few minutes before they get there, so it's only in your best interest to keep him around as a security deterrent, from criminals, which the guy who was trying to attack or steal your car, the dog tried to attack them. So clearly the dog was useful, but they just let the dog out to die, and that's me. I'm a pet lover. I own a dog. I just didn't fly well with me. But the movie does recuperate itself with these creatures. These creatures, the CGI on them, for the most part, look pretty good, especially for, a made-for-TV or Netflix budget, if you will. They were really cool. They used some scientific... again, I'm not a scientist, but, it made sense. These little... they wings, since they listen to their surroundings, they pop up their ears, and then they use their wings to kind of cup themselves around their ears to gather in more sound to pinpoint exactly where their prey is. So I thought that was really cool that they got that. Stanley Tucci was easily able to detect exactly what was going on with those creatures and figure out that they only follow sound, even though they already knew they only followed sound. They were told that on the TV, I assume. But again, it was very interesting. Now, the real good with this, again, not just the acting, the really good parts were the fact that they showed how the world and other people were dealing with this. A lot of times in these films, you don't get to see how the rest of the world deals with it or other people. And they did that pretty interestingly, not just through news reports, but through still using of technology, through, Facebook, Twitter, people that are posting things. So you could see this happening around the world on a global scale. So it was pretty cool, and it was very interesting that technology and power and all this still worked within this universe, even though we're talking at least a couple of days or weeks into it, this apocalypse, if you will. So that was really interesting and a really good part of the film. Now the bad. Some of the surrounding characters didn't do so well in terms of the acting. There was just a lot of one-liners and just silly jokes that didn't fit, and just some uneasiness, pacing issues within the film. There's a scene, a little spoiler, I guess, the mother is attacked, and it's shown that her leg is getting infected. Next scene, they go to get the antibiotics, and literally the next scene, she seems to be fine. There's no emotional tie to oh my god, she's either going to lose her leg or die, and then all of a sudden she's walking around like nothing happened. And it was just like, it was just very lack of emotion. We're supposed to care so much about this family. You really don't, because they don't show the lovingness between them, to be honest with you. And towards the end of the film, they shoehorn something that's you're easily able to foreshadow if you've never seen any of the trailers. You're able to see it because they kind of lead on to it. They're talking about people getting crucified in the streets. So right off the bat, I look at my wife, it's like, oh, there's going to be religious zealots coming in and doing their thing. And there was a pretty interesting twist with them on how they kind of cultivate their group, and even though there are women in their group already, they're still looking for more women to procreate. So they want to kidnap the deaf girl because she's fertile, but none of the other women, which I find interesting in on itself. And they also invade the home that they're barricaded in, utilizing a little girl, which they're putting a girl in danger, who the girl would have been futile or fertile. I don't know. There was just some choice things that I just didn't quite grasp. And I guess the biggest downfall to the film really is just there's a lot of, and again, I use this word loosely because I'm not a scientist, just some scientific things that just, even with evolution, don't all add up. If these creatures were buried underground for so many millions of years, if they are, again, derived from pterodactyls, let's just say, how are there so many of them down below? None of them have ever made it above. Okay, it's not like they're like swimming around in a little pool like in the remake of Piranhas. Okay, like an underground well. Okay, they'd have to have some sort of cave environment down there for them to exist, and for them to be that many. Now, they also seem to be able to reproduce relatively quickly, but they do show us how they reproduce, and which is kind of interesting, that they lay their offspring in the carcasses of what they eat, which is interesting. But how many things are they eating in the ground, underground, unless they're eating themselves? They're their own prey. And then once they released, why would they stop attacking each other and just attacking everything else? And the amount of babies that they seem to lay in the carcasses, what are they eating underground that would have allowed them to lay that many babies? So you see, there's a lot of things that just don't add up. How they would react to the sunlight, thunder, lightning, rain, all of the above. If these creatures have never seen or faced any of these things, it just wouldn't have gone down that way. And I know you're not supposed to think of it like that. You're just supposed to sit back and enjoy. But I'm the type of person where it just, unfortunately, I can't. So, again, it kind of took me out of the film a little. But the badass parts. The creatures are really cool. There's this amazing wood chipper scene that just, I don't know why they ever turned the wood chipper off if they're attracted to sound, right? Right? Am I right? Exactly, guys. So, there's some really good fun to be had here. They throw in the zealots, at the end, and the zealots were very interesting. Unfortunately, they're shoehorned into the end. But there was some interesting points to them. I wish we could have kind of dove a little more into it. Maybe if this was a TV series, it would have been a lot more interesting. Maybe shown them how to survive and things like that. But what's really cool is at the very end, they kind of go in a route where those other movies really didn't. And what by other movies I mean Bird Box and The Quiet Place, of course, is they show that these creatures are evolving even continuously on the ground, like out in the open, okay, that they're adapting to cold and all of that jazz. And then they're talking about the humans. The humans are going to have to now adapt in order to take their world back. So it's really interesting that they're talking about this whole evolving and adapting to their surroundings and the situation. So it's a very different take, I guess, at the end than the rest of those films. So that's a good thing. It pulls itself apart from them. However, unless you like these type of movies, I don't know if you'll have as much fun as I did, even though I seem to have totally bashed this movie. But I did enjoy it. I did like it. It was just fun, stupid fun to watch. It got me to put my phone down. It got me to put my computer down. I was intrigued as to how this was going to maybe separate itself from those other films. Whether it was successful in its execution in doing that or not, that's up to you. But, there's not a lot of reviews in terms of actual scores online about it. Rotten Tomatoes only has the actual score of the review being at 27. There's no audience score. IMDb had it at 5.6 out of 10. And Google, their review for the movie is a 66%. Me, I would give it a 3 out of 5. It's just good enough to just enjoy the movie. There's fun to be had. There's some lore behind it. There's some, again, different take on how the evolution of them or where we're going into the future of this film franchise, if it were to become a franchise, which I doubt it will. But just in this world, it shows you in the direction the movie's going. Not using guns, but going into using arrows and things like that. obviously because they're quieter. So it was really interesting to see. Again, this movie could have been better, but overall I did enjoy it. So guys, let us know in the comments below, did you like this movie? Have you seen The Silence? If you haven't, go ahead and check it out. I guarantee you'll have somewhat of a good time, especially if you like horror movies or these type of like invasion apocalyptic movies. For me, I love apocalyptic movies and I love monster movies. So this was right up my alley, and I'm even to even a lesser degree, but I do like also B movies, just random B movies, which this is not a B movie by any stretch of the imagination, but I do like those. So all those things together, it allowed me to enjoy it. So let me know in the comments below, guys, again, if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Hulk smash the hell out of that like button. Let us know that you like what we're doing here, guys, and until next time, I'm C-Dubs, and I'll see you in the universe. Peace.